Tonight, we remember the victims of the 9/11 attacks.
Plus, Troy gets ready for the first home game of the season. Stay tuned. Troy TrojanVision News starts now.
From the High Definition Production Center of Troy University's Broadcast and Digital Network at Troy, Alabama's International University, this is Troy TrojanVision News.
Hello and welcome to Troy TrojanVision News for September 11th, 2015. I'm Sarah Singletary.
And I'm Haley Greathouse. Thank you for joining us this evening. Today is September 11th, the day many all across America take time to remember those lost in the attacks in 2001, and one student group does so in a patriotic way. American flags were placed all along the pathways of the Bibb Graves Quad today in honor of the lives lost in the September 11th attacks. The day-long memorial has become an annual tradition by Troy's college Republicans. We have more on the National Remembrance Day later in today's show.
Troy University students are taking a stand against cancer through Relay for Life, and this year's fundraising effort kicked off last night. The Troy University chapter of Relay for Life kicked off the school year Thursday night. Relay for Life spends the year raising money for cancer research, promoting cancer education, and providing a support system for the family and friends of those affected by cancer. Cancer education and event brainstorming were the two big parts of Thursday's meeting. However, the spotlight was on personal testimonies. Relay President Avalon Dudinsky shares with us why she relays.
My father was diagnosed with squamous cell carcinoma last year on October 1st, and I had relayed for many years beforehand, but that's when it really became personal. After he went through extensive chemo treatment and radiation, I saw the effects of cancer and how it really destroys families if you don't have that sense of hope. Luckily, we had that sense of hope, and we sought out God, and we prayed, and he was declared cancer-free in March of the following year, and it's given me a new sense of passion for Relay for Life.
Relay for Life officers recognize that almost everyone has been touched by cancer in one way or another, which is why everyone should get involved in fighting back.
Cancer is something that touches everyone very personally. Everyone knows somebody that's been affected by cancer or has had cancer. So it's something very dear to our hearts in America, and I just think that's something that students could strive to help as they're in college.
You know, coming from my past, I've never met my grandfather because he passed away from leukemia. I don't want people to, go through their life, oh, I have 3 grandparents. Don't you have 4? It's like, no, I never met mine. And then, my aunt is currently fighting like an on and off again type of cancer. So she's currently in and out of the hospital and everything. And, I don't want other people to have to go through that.
Be on the lookout for Relay for Life events throughout the school year leading up to the main event in March.
Political columnist and former legislator Steve Flowers has written a new book about the history of Alabama politics. Flowers held a signing for his new book at the Johnson Center for the Arts last night. William McCarthy has the story.
The Johnson Center for the Arts hosted its last art talk of the calendar year. This month's talk wasn't about any paintings or sculptures. It was about the art of storytelling. Steve Flowers published his new book of Goats and Governors.
I started off the book just to tell stories of political history that happened in Alabama over the last 50 or 60 years. And I also cover every governor's race going back to 1946. I go in there and delve into how they got elected, what was the inside story to it. But there's stories about our legendary governors in the Deep South that I wanted told, that those of us, as a cadre of us, have been around state politics all of our life, and these stories are, as Tennyson said, facts better than fiction. Some of the stuff you can't make up.
Flowers is the leading political columnist in Alabama, writing in 66 newspapers from Huntsville to Gulf Shores. He tells us why he wrote the book in the first place.
And a lot of my columns are historical in nature, so I've somewhat become the state political historian. So, I've been around. I'm not that old. I'm only 63, but I've been around it 50 years now. And these stories, I've heard a lot of them when I was a little boy, and I just grown up hearing these stories. I lived a lot of them. I lived through the Wallace administrations. I served 2 decades in the legislature here in Pike County. I was Pike County's representative for 20 years, and so I've been around it a long time.
Flowers tells us in the book some interesting stories about past Alabama governors. He explains what his favorite governor race was to cover, which was the 1970 race between Albert Brewer and George Wallace.
In that particular race, Wallace played the race card, and it was well known that he had some of the most racist ads ever run in the history of American politics. He was behind Albert Brewer, and he became the racist candidate in that race.
William McCarthy for Troy, TrojanVision News.
If you are interested in getting Flowers' book, it can be purchased from New South Books or Amazon.com.
Troy's first home game is tomorrow, and students got in the game day spirit at Thursday night's pep rally. Jordan Elston has all the action.
Troy University students got a chance to cheer on their fellow Trojans and learn some Trojan traditions at this year's pep rally.
I think this was a great pep rally. We taught them some of the traditions we do, which is something we haven't done in the past. So I think overall the turnout with the new coach and just the new attitude, I think it's going to be a lot better.
Troy's first home game isn't until Saturday, but this year's pep rally got the fans in the competitive spirit.
We did games with Brandon Silvers, our quarterback, throw into all the organizations. I thought he just got the football involved with organizations.
Some students explained why they decided to attend the pep rally and what they enjoyed the most.
I don't know. I like it all because people screaming, dancing.
Oh, when everybody was screaming, it was amazing. I'm very excited for the first game for me in Troy University, and I will Troy win this week.
I wanted to come out and just support Troy and see what's new with our new coach this year. I feel like with all the new things he's bringing with like you swipe your card with the points, I feel like it will get more people involved and coming to the games and cheering on the Trojans, so hopefully we can have a great season.
Jordan Elston, Troy, TrojanVision News.
The Trojan football team will kick off at 6 o'clock Saturday night at Veterans Memorial Stadium. Troy University's Confucius Institute's mission is to teach Americans about Chinese culture on Troy's campus.
And a fun way to get that message across happens every week with the Institute's Chinese Corner. As Casey Freeman shows us, the Chinese Corner got students moving with a traditional Chinese art.
The Chinese Corner teaches students about some aspects of Chinese culture, and this week they were introduced to an exercise technique using the Tai Chi fan.
Today we offered Tai Chi, and as we did last semester, and I'll also offer something new, which is called the Tai Chi fan. And Tai Chi is a kind of slow movement, and it is very popular in China. And people often practice it in the morning. That when you practice Tai Chi, there's an exchange of energy between the nature and your whole body. If you practice Tai Chi regularly, it can increase your flexibility and it can strengthen the balance, especially for the old people. And also Tai Chi can help people treat various kinds of chronic diseases, for example like the arthritis or diabetes or heart problem or hypertension.
Although Tai Chi has some health benefits, some say the use of the fan makes it interesting to college students.
Tai Chi fan is a kind of a little bit of faster movement. Tai Chi fan is mainly for performance, and all the students like it very much. And to the young students, they like Tai Chi fan more.
Some students have fully embraced the Chinese culture through the Confucius Institute.
Got to learn some Chinese. I got to do Kung Fu, Tai Chi, and Dragon Dance. And I decided that I would take a Chinese class. I would start with the intro, and then today I heard there was going to be a meeting about a China trip.
Casey Freeman, Troy, TrojanVision News.
Chinese Corner is every Thursday at 3 on the Confucius Institute on the first floor of Bibb Graves Hall.
And now taking a look at news from around the state. In Huntsville, jurors are deliberating anew in the trial of a police officer accused of violating the civil rights of an Indian man who was slammed to the ground and severely injured. The jury in the case of Madison police officer Eric Parker returned to federal court in Huntsville on Friday after reporting they had been deadlocked as of the previous evening.
A federal judge has sentenced an Alabama grocery store owner to more than 3 years in prison for food stamp and tax fraud. Sufyan Hazem Saleh of Birmingham was sentenced Thursday for food stamp and tax fraud, totaling more than $1.6 million. Vance says Saleh described false tax returns for 2009 and 2010.
Also in Montgomery, several bills containing tax increases and other revenue measures have been passed at the Alabama State House and are now moving to the Senate as lawmakers try to obtain a budget bill before the October 1st start of the new fiscal year. The House on Thursday passed a 25-cent tax increase on cigarette packs, bidding to close a multi-million-dollar gap in the budget.
Still to come on Troy Trojan Vision News, the Trojan football team will compete in its home opener on Saturday. Ryan Renfro has more in sports.
And it has been 14 years since the September 11th attacks, and the nation is remembering those who lost their lives.
America remembers one of its darkest days. I'm Marley Hall in Lower Manhattan on the 14th anniversary of 9/11. That story coming up.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
You sure you don't want some? It's chamomile. Listen, you are extremely terrifying. Just the scariest undead subhuman thing on TV, and I really mean that. But I am worried that you could give my kids nightmares if they see you, so I'm gonna have to block you. So that's it. Oh, and tell the zombies they're blocked too.
Now, the latest in Trojan sports on Troy Trojan Vision News.
The college football season is up and running, and the Troy Trojans are preparing for their second game of the season against Charleston Southern. Coming off last week's loss in the season opener, head coach Neil Brown focuses in on Charleston Southern's offensive attack and says the team is ready to compete and eager to bring the excitement to Veterans Memorial Stadium. Khadijah Torbert has more on this weekend's matchup.
Defending the home turf this weekend is essential for the football team's home opener against Charleston Southern.
Obviously, we're fired up about our home opener. Our guys, I think that's one of the things for us to continue to make a step forward as a program. We got to defend our home turf, and that'll start Saturday night.
The intensity level is going to be increased double because we're home, our home fans here, and we got to make a big impression. One rule is not to lose at home.
Charleston Southern is a force to be reckoned with. Their quarterback and running back are a dual threat, but Brown knows the offense as a unit will bring challenges for the Trojans up front.
Offensively, a very unique system. They're an option-oriented team. Something that we haven't seen in a live situation. The quarterback is Austin Brown. He's a senior, dual threat, threw the ball really well at the end of last season. He can run. They've got two really good running backs. Number 2 is Ben Robinson. He's a fast guy, quick. He's going to be an issue for us to tackle. Then they've got a strong guy, Darius Hammond, who's also their punt return and kickoff return guy, and he had a couple returns last year for touchdowns. So he's a strong guy. I think the strength of that whole unit is their offensive line. The first thing you look at is their winning program the last 2 years. Went 8-4 last year. They went 10-3 the year before that. Very experienced. 9 offensive returners, 8 defensive returners.
With Charleston Southern bringing their A game Saturday night, Brown insists on his players playing the right way and to field the ball better than the last game.
I've been preaching this the whole time. We're going to play the right way, and we're going to compete, and we're going to be exciting to watch. We've got to field the ball better than we did a week ago, but a solid team, and we're looking forward to compete against them.
Khadijah Torbert, Troy, Trojan Vision Sports.
Tomorrow's home opener will kick off at 6 p.m. If you can't make it to the game, you can watch it on ESPN3 or listen to the action on the Troy Sports Radio Network. The Trojan volleyball team competed in Tuscaloosa earlier today in the Crimson White tournament, taking on the Alabama Crimson Tide. The team fell into a 10-2 hole in the first set and struggled to gain momentum, falling to the Tide 3-0. The Trojans cut the Bama lead to 14-12 in the second set, only to see the Tide score 6 straight to take a 2-0 lead. The Trojans saw success early in the third set and held on to the momentum until the Tide fought its way back to win. Senior Darby Griff led the Trojans with 7 kills, with Sarah Landis and Blair Winston both racking up 6. Now the Trojans have to prepare for their next opponent, the Cavaliers.
And then you have Virginia out of the ACC, who has a really great coach who was an assistant at Penn State for 3 or 4 of their national championships. Dennis does a great job. I've known him for a long time. We've never had a chance to play Virginia as far as I know, and naturally it's going to be a great opportunity for us to play against one of the premier teams in the ACC.
Trojans will wrap up tournament play tomorrow at 11 a.m. against Virginia and will follow that game up with a match against St. Louis at 4 p.m. The Trojan football team isn't the only one taking on Charleston Southern this weekend. The men's golf team began its season this morning at the Invitational at the Ocean Course at the Kewah Golf Resort. The Trojans teed off this morning alongside Charleston Southern and Cincinnati and will play a total of 36 holes today and 18 holes on Saturday. Two-time first-team All-Sun Belt selection Jared Betcher leads the Trojans into action this weekend alongside Luke Mosier and Clayton Vinoy. So, guys, a big-time game tomorrow against Charleston Southern. It's going to be a Saturday full of college football, and I'm ready to get things going tomorrow.
Definitely. We're all excited to see that action finally in Veterans Memorial Stadium. Thanks, Ryan.
Now for news from across the nation and around the world on Troy Trojan Vision News.
America paused this morning on the 14th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. Nearly 3,000 people died in New York, Washington, D.C., and Shanksville, Pennsylvania when terrorists struck.
Marley Hall has a story from Lower Manhattan in New York.
The first bell rang at 8:46, the moment American Airlines Flight 11 slammed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. For family members who return to Ground Zero year after year, emotions are still raw. 2,753 people died when both towers of the World Trade Center collapsed.
If I were to have one wish in this world, it would be to meet my dad.
Many clutched photos of their loved ones as the names of the victims were read.
Michael George Archinsky.
14 years after the attacks, Lower Manhattan is rebuilt and thriving again. But New Yorkers and visitors say they will always treat this area as hallowed ground.
When I'm down here, I constantly think about it. I look at what's going on now, and it's a great sense of pride.
At the White House, President and Mrs. Obama paid tribute to the victims. There was also a ceremony at the Pentagon where 184 people died, and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where passengers and crew fought back against the terrorists and brought down United Flight 93 before it could reach Washington. At Ground Zero, families and friends visit the two reflecting pools and rub the names of their loved ones, determined to fulfill their promise to never forget. Marley Hall, CBS News, New York.
Police in Hungary say they are investigating a video that appears to show the mistreatment of migrants.
The controversy comes as thousands make it across the border. Charlie D'Agata reports from Ruska, Hungary.
Disturbing cell phone video appears to show migrants at the main refugee camp here being fed like a herd of caged animals in a holding pen. Hungarian police in surgical masks and riot helmets chuck sandwiches into the crowd of desperate migrants fighting one another for food. Here's the view Hungarian authorities would rather you see, a government handout video showing police distributing food to migrants in an orderly fashion. But in reality, there's nothing orderly about their treatment from the moment they step foot into Hungary. In the mud and chaos and confusion, nobody knows where they're going or what awaits them when they get there. Volunteers and aid workers have helped pick up the slack here, providing hot meals, clean clothing, and a warm welcome.
We have to get you away.
Volunteer David Wade told us while he welcomes President Obama's offer to take in 10,000 Syrian refugees, he put it into perspective.
Well, in the last 3 days, you've had 10,000 through this border. Through just this one point. That says it all.
And there are thousands more migrants arriving by the day, some sent to detention centers, others making their own way to the Budapest train station. But the Austrian government says they temporarily suspended trains from the Hungarian border, which will inevitably cause another bottleneck here. Charlie D'Agata, CBS News, Roska, Hungary.
Coming up on Troy Trojan Vision News, Aaron Taylor sits down with the new SGA president.
And it's been an overcast and windy day. What can we expect going into the weekend, Jordan?
It looks like we're going to have a little rain for game day weekend, but I'll have more of that coming up in weather.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
This is DeKeys.
She has her bachelor's degree from Troy University and is now pursuing her master's online to grow her career. Soon, she'll have a prestigious graduate degree from Troy, a proud public university that's been helping students achieve their career goals since 1887. Do what you love and be great at it. That's the warrior spirit. Learn more at troy.edu/workingwarrior.
From the High Definition Production Center of Troy University's Broadcast and Digital Network, now your weather on Troy TrojanVision News.
And now Jordan Elston joins us with a look at our forecast.
Jordan, like I said earlier, it's been overcast, it's been windy. It looks like the sky is just itching to just fall out and rain. Is it going to rain any this weekend?
It looks like we are going to have rain for our first home game, but that rain will be moving out of our area shortly. I'll have more of that after we take a look at our current temperatures. Currently, our skies are mostly cloudy. Our temperature coming in at 80 degrees, relative humidity at 71%, pressure at 29.92 inches, and wind traveling southwest at 10 miles per hour. Taking a look at our daily almanac, we've had a high today of 84 degrees, a low earlier this morning of 70, and no rain today. As we take a look at temperatures around the state, you can see that Mobile's coming in pretty warm at 75, Birmingham warm at 87, Huntsville 79, Montgomery at a warm 74 degrees, here in Troy 80, Phoenix City at 86, and Dothan at 82 degrees. Taking a look at temperatures across the southeast, you can see that we are experiencing generally warm temperatures, the high 70s to low 80s. Nashville at 68, pretty cold there. Atlanta at 86, Albany at 80. As we take a look at temperatures across the nation, you can see that the north is experiencing much cooler temperatures than we are here in the south. See some 60s, 61, 71, so pretty scattered temperatures across the nation. Taking a look at our current surface map, you can see that we do have a couple high pressure systems scattered around, low pressure systems, and precipitation moving up towards our area that we're going to be seeing later on in the weekend. Taking a closer look at our area, you can see this cold front pushing through the area, adding to those colder temperatures that we saw earlier this morning. Taking a look at our precipitation forecast for Saturday, we will have some rain along our area, so you definitely want to make sure that if you do have plans to go to Troy's first home game this weekend, that you do bring a poncho, because there is a possibility that we will be seeing some rain. Looking at Sunday, you can see that rain will be moving out of our area and on into Florida, so we should have pretty clear skies on Sunday. Taking a look into Monday, once again, pretty clear in our area, so it's going to be nice for if you're walking to class. We'll have pretty clear skies for Monday. And on Tuesday, you can see this rain is starting to creep back on up into our area. We might be seeing some rain later on in the week for next week because of that, but for Tuesday, we shouldn't be seeing any rain. Now to take a look at tonight, we do have a chance of thunderstorms. Our low coming in at about 70 degrees and winds traveling southwest at 5 miles per hour. So if you do have any plans tonight, you want to make sure that you take appropriate rain gear. Taking a look at tomorrow's forecast, you can see that there is a chance of thunderstorms, a high of 80 degrees, and winds traveling west at 5 to 10 miles per hour. So although there is a chance of rain for the game, it's still going to be pretty warm weather, so you want to make sure that you dress appropriately. Taking a look at our 4-day forecast, you can see once again tomorrow, there's a 40% chance of rain, high of 80 with a low of 56. Sunday, it's going to be a high of 78 with a low of 58. Monday, high of 83 with a low of 61. And Tuesday, clear skies again, high of 85 and a low of 65. So as you can see, we are still having pretty warm temperatures throughout the day. It is unfortunate that our Trojans are going to have to play in the rain on Saturday, and temperatures seem to be getting a little cooler at night, so you definitely want to make sure that you bring a jacket if you do have plans to go to the game.
Thank you so much, Jordan.
Thank you. Troy Student Government Association President Heath Barton officially started his year in office this semester. Aaron Taylor finds out about Barton's plans for the school year in today's Trojan Talk.
Hello and welcome to Trojan Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. Today we'll be talking about Troy University Student Government Association and their plans for this school year. My guest today, President of the SGA, Heath Barton. Heath, thanks for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me.
And the start of your year as president here as the SGA, and obviously I know you've got a lot of big plans for what you've got in store for the student government and the student body here at Troy. Tell us a little about your expectations, your plans for the year.
My plan for this year is definitely kind of to continue from my plans last year, to make sure that every single student is involved on our campus. Involvement on campus is one of the best ways to make sure that your Troy experience is awesome. Another one of the plans we have is just some of the changes that are happening to our university, expanding upon those changes and doing all that we can to make sure that they're good.
And now, with that involvement. I know the SGA has gotten on board with something new, some new technology to kind of incorporate more student involvement and using technology to help kind of bring those together through the Trojan Connection and a new app for phones. Tell us about how that's going to kind of help incorporate and get people involved with student government and other organizations. So.
Okay, well, the app is called Cork. It's a free app that's located on any type of store for certain phones. What it is the Cork app is just the utilization of the app, and then in the Cork app you can sign in with Troy University, and that's our Trojan Connection that we have, which is going to be replacing Trojan Today. As you may remember, Trojan Today was a way for students to realize and recognize what all is going to be happening on our campus for the certain week at hand. For this Trojan Connection app, what we're able to do through that is essentially take all the events that are happening throughout the entire semester, put them on there, and use that. Organizations are also going to be required to register on this new app for Cork. Through this app, students will be able to get on, look at all the organizations that Troy University has, and then potentially, if they like, join that organization.
And so gives a chance to students to have connections to groups and schedule events right there in the palm of their hands. So,
exactly.
And so obviously that's going to help guide you towards those goals of getting more students involved. But for the student government itself, not just the university as a whole, but the student government, what are some of your goals and your plans for student government, specifically, the officers in the Senate this year?
Well, each officer had a platform that they ran off of. And one of the things that I started off actually beginning of summer was having each of our executive officers list a list of goals that they would want to accomplish throughout the year. And most recently, we had a meeting Monday night with our executive officers. And one of the neatest things was to go through those and see that each officer was able to check off certain goals that they wanted to plan and have accomplished already. And we just started school. So that was definitely something awesome. For myself, one of the biggest things is kind of my platform that I ran off of, being able to hold our administration accountable. We want to make sure that a connection between our students and our faculty and staff, as well as administration, is strong this year. That relationship is one of the best ways to make sure that our students' voices are heard. One of the other ways is to show a pride for Troy. That's one of my biggest accomplishments this year is making sure that every single student has a passion, has a drive for our university, and cares about our university just as much as the rest of our executive council does. And then our last one is to kind of essentially just show our love for Troy. We want to make sure that our students take part in anything that they can throughout the year, whether it be homecoming, whether it be certain initiatives that the SGA is going to be putting on, or as we mentioned earlier, getting involved in any of the organizations that we have.
And now the SGA is also this semester doing something new to encourage, more involvement in meetings. You've got a new location. A bigger space in Hawkins Hall, the auditorium there. And obviously that move, part of that I would assume is a bigger space to get more students there. So
yes, definitely. That's one of the biggest things that we hope is that students will start coming to our SGA meetings, which is on Tuesday nights at 6:30 in Hawkins Hall. Students can come, share their voice, come and let us as senators and as executive officers know their concerns and let them know that we're working on everything that we can with any issue that they see.
And that contributes to that accountability mission that you have there, because if students can come to those meetings and have their voices heard by the SGA, you can help contribute to getting those voices heard by the administration there.
Definitely. We're a university of students. One of the biggest things that Troy prides itself on is our connection that we can have between our professors and us as students. And so with that, being able to hear it straight from the student's mouth, take that and take it into administration and have action. We don't want anyone to come in and just be word of mouth, and we have word of mouth as well. We want to make sure that we take those words and we turn them into actions.
Well, cool. And if anybody out there can't make it to the meetings but still wants to get in touch with someone in the SGA, your office is always available as well. Tell us how they can find you in your office.
Okay, well, we're located in TC 215, which is that second floor of the Trojan Center. All of our executive officers have required office hours. And majority of the time, if one's not in there, another one is, and they're all willing to make sure that they hear any of your concerns or any issues that you see on our campus.
All right, well, Heath, good luck with this school year, and hopefully you'll meet some of those goals that you and the rest of the executive officers have for this year. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on today's edition of Trojan Talk.
That's all the time we have for Troy Trojan Vision News. From all of us here at Trojan Vision, thanks for joining us. Remember to follow us on Twitter at Troy TV News.
Or like our Troy Trojan Vision News fan page on Facebook to see links to online content from Troy Trojan Vision News. Tune in again tomorrow night for more news, sports, and weather. Have a great night.